Joining me now is Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis. Congressman, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley is requesting an urgent UN Security Council meeting on North Korea. It's expected to be held at 3 p.m. today. And as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, what steps do you believe, concrete steps, need to be taken now to stop this growing nuclear threat?
Well, Dagan, the president's tweet suggests he would like to continue to put pressure on China. And China does have a lot of leverage over North Korea because economically they represent a huge amount of the resources that are traded between the two countries. And so I think that would be, if you look at it from the perspective of if China can really leverage, you have to convince China first that it's in China's interest to want to try to disarm or at least contain North Korea. They've not believed that up to this point. But then whatever pressures applied on North Korea, you still need North Korea and their leader, Kim Jong-un, who is a young, plump, and I think somewhat irrational kid in power there. You still have to have them convinced that he can hold on to power more by playing ball with China and some of the other countries. It's not clear to me that that's the case. Now you look at a potential military strike against his facilities. The problem with that is, well, one, you may not even get everything, but two, even if you do risk a significant retaliation against South Korea, against Japan, and that could end up in a big conflagration. And then we would like to maybe see an uprising against him so that you can move away from this regime, but it's a totalitarian country. It's very difficult to penetrate that. He doesn't broker. He allows no dissent in his country. And so the idea that there are people to work with to try to move that covertly, that would be great if you could, but I'm just not sure that that would work either.
But, Andrew, I'll raise the issue of increasingly it looks like we are going to have to act without China, that China has, some of the things they've done are cosmetic, but trade, again, is up 37% in the first quarter. As I pointed out, it's gone up tenfold in the last 15 years or so. They have relationships with North Korea in terms of selling oil to North Korea, the banking system, trading firms, ports, front companies, you name it. So do we need to, and you're welcome to ask the congressman a question, but I just raised that issue that we shouldn't hold out hope for China.
No, I think the United States has backed itself a little bit into a corner because we're looking for a denouement on this issue. You know, we're looking for a conclusion. Either North Korea gives up its nuclear program or we take action against it. And without that denouement, it's not clear how this is a win for the president. If this goes the way of every North Korean crisis in the past, for the last 20 years since they've had a nuclear program, I don't think the administration comes out looking very good. Congressman, do you think that's an acceptable read on this situation?
Well, I think that history suggests that these attempts to persuade or use diplomatic economic pressure against North Korea have been doomed to fail. I think we've charted a relatively consistent course across a variety of administrations, and North Korea has continued to proceed to not only obviously develop nuclear capability, but now enhancing their missile capacity, which brings our country into its range. And so I think something needs to change, but there's a lot of different ways that that this could end up being very difficult for the administration.
And we should point something out, that this missile launch was done, according to reports, from a mobile missile launcher, which makes it increasingly difficult, if not impossible, for us to detect it. It's not like this future missiles would be on launch pads where we can, through surveillance and intelligence, detect where these launches are going to happen and when they're going to happen. It makes it nearly impossible for us to shoot these down. So that's another threat that we have to deal with, Congressman.
No, without question. I mean, you remember it was within the last couple months where we did a successful missile defense test, which really was, I think, rattled North Korea significantly, and that is an important deterrent for sure, but it can't always be guaranteed to be effective. And some have said, well, if we have an opportunity to maybe shoot down one of North Korea's test missiles, that would really send a signal. And I agree it would, but I think you're right, it's easier said than done.